All right, let's jump right in. Today we're tackling a huge question. When a crisis hits, who really has control of your money? Now, you probably think you've got it all sorted out, but trust me, the reality can be shockingly different. Seriously, just take a second and think about this. What if, out of the blue, you couldn't manage your own affairs? Maybe an accident or a sudden illness. Could your spouse or your kid or anyone you trust, could they actually step in right away and pay the mortgage? Handle the bank without a hitch? Well, the scary thing is, for so many people who think they're prepared, the answer is a flat-out no. And, they usually find that out at the absolute worst moment imaginable. And that brings us to this idea I call the illusion of access. It's this huge gap, right? It's the difference between what we think gives our family control and what the law actually says gives them authority. This is exactly where that perception just smacks into reality. So you think, hey, we have a joint account, we're good. Nope. A bank can freeze that account the second they find out one of you is incapacitated. And that password you shared? Legally, it means nothing. In fact, using it could technically be fraud. And a handshake deal, a verbal agreement, totally useless when a bank manager is asking for official paperwork. And this isn't just theory. This illusion, it has absolutely devastating real-world consequences. Let's dive into what happens when just trusting someone simply isn't enough. I mean, can you even imagine that? You're already going through a horrible medical emergency with a loved one, and then you get that phone call. The bank account is frozen. Everything's locked. The mortgage is still due, the bills are still coming in, but your ability to pay them, it just vanished. The panic? It's instant. Or how about this one? A son or daughter is just trying to do the right thing, trying to pay their parents' mortgage to stop it from going into foreclosure, but they're just stopped cold by a bank teller who says, sorry, your name isn't on the right form. It's this feeling of being completely powerless. All the trust in the world is there, but the authority isn't. And then there's this, which is just the most tragic outcome of all. When there's no clear legal plan, families can be absolutely ripped apart. All that grief and stress, it just boils over into suspicion, into fights over money, causing rifts that can last a lifetime. You see, this gets to the absolute core of the problem. You can have all the trust in the world, 100%. But if it doesn't have legal backing, it's what I call trust without teeth. It has no real bite, no power. Okay, so how do you give that trust the teeth it needs? The good news is, it's not nearly as complicated as it sounds. The solution, it really comes down to the power of one single crucial document. And here it is. It's called a power of attorney, or a POA for short. Now, forget all the intimidating legal language for a second. At its heart, a POA is just a tool. That's it. It's you putting it down in writing and officially telling the whole world, this person right here, I trust them. If I can't speak for myself, their voice is my voice. That's what this document does. It transforms someone you trust into a legally recognized agent. And that's the huge difference we're talking about. It's the difference between having a sticky note with a password on it and having a legal document that gives someone real enforceable power. So what does that power actually unlock? Well, it's the ability for your agent to step right in and manage your banking, pay your bills and your mortgage so nothing falls behind, handle your investments, and even file your taxes. It basically lets your life keep running smoothly, even when you're not the one at the controls. All right, so this brings us right to the main event, the crucial showdown, access versus real legal authority. This right here, this is the absolute heart of the matter. Just look at how this breaks down. Your informal access, like a password or being on a joint account, it has zero legal recognition. A power of attorney, it's legally binding. What about getting the bank to cooperate? With informal access, it's a total crapshoot. They can, and often do, say no. With a POA, their compliance is mandatory. They have to listen. And here's the bottom line. In a crisis, that informal access, it fails. It crumbles under pressure. A power of attorney is literally designed for that crisis. So at the end of the day, securing your financial future isn't about sharing passwords or just adding a name to an account. It's about taking that trust you have and formalizing it, turning it into something the entire system is legally required to respect. Now, of course, I have to mention this is all for educational purposes. This is not a substitute for real professional legal advice. When you're making these kinds of big decisions, you should always talk to a qualified professional.
So, I want to leave you with this one last question to think about. After everything we've talked about today, you've got to ask yourself, is your family's security built on the solid foundation of actual legal paper, or is it just built on hope?
Okay, so here's the bottom line. The number one thing to remember: do not confuse access with authority. They are not the same thing. Only a real legal document, like a power of attorney, gives your family the real control they're going to need when a crisis hits. Hey, if this was helpful, make sure you subscribe. We put out clear briefings like this all the time, cutting through the noise to get you the truth. Thanks for tuning in.